caramel, you can pipe it, you can scoop it. It has the most exquisite texture. It's very similar to a dolce de leche, however, it is completely dairy-free and you don't need to fuss around with having to buy expensive ingredients like vegan condensed milk or make your own. It's super easy, and we are using pectin today to stabilize this caramel. Let's get into it. So I have put my high-fat coconut cream into my saucepan, and we want to start getting this nice and warm. Now, whilst that is warming up, we need to prepare our pectin. Now, we are using pectin NH, which is our thermo-reversible pectin. And we're going to, as always with every use of pectin, is mix it in with our sugar, okay? So we're going to mix that with our sugar to disperse the powder, and this is going to help it dissolve into our cream. Now, this caramel also has a maple flavor, which is absolutely delicious, but if you do want to intensify that flavor, you could also add a little bit of maple essence. There is a little bit of maple syrup in here, but not a whole lot. Maple syrup is very expensive, so we're just using it to highlight the beautiful flavors and the texture that it's going to give to this caramel. Now, essentially, we just want to get that cream up to about 40 degrees Celsius. Once it gets there, we want to slowly add our sugar and our pectin whilst whisking. And we're going to also go in with our maple syrup. And we want to bring this up to 80 degrees Celsius. Add your aroma now as well. I'm going to put a little bit of butter essence in here, and you could also add some maple essence if you would like it, a little bit more maple flavored. Once it gets to 80 degrees Celsius, you can take it off the heat. At this stage, I also like to blend it just to ensure there's no lumps of that pectin. Now it's time to make our dry caramel. So I've gone ahead and got myself a really nice large pot. And this is important because when we add our cream to that hot caramel, it's going to really bubble up. So we want to make sure we keep ourselves safe. So on our heat here, we want to do like a relatively high heat, so like a medium to high heat. And we're going to go in with our glucose syrup and our sugar. So I'm going to add probably about half of it, or just to line the base of the pot until it starts melting before we start mixing it. And we're looking to make a really dark caramel, or what I would call like a French caramel. So just before it burns, so we have to be really keep an eye, never walk away from a caramel when making. So you can see it's starting to melt. I'm going to add the rest of my sugar. Now the flavor of this caramel is coming from that browning or that toasting of the sugar, caramelizing that sugar. So we really want to stretch it as far as we can without burning it. See, now everything is just melted, but we really don't have that much flavor to our caramel. So we need to continue cooking it until it starts getting really foamy. And we want to stir it continuously just to ensure we're getting that caramelization all the way through and it's not burning in any spots. So you can see it's starting to foam. Now quickly we're going to add in our cream. Stand back. So the hardest part is just getting that caramel to the right consistency, to getting it to really nice and dark but not burnt. Now, I'm going to turn down that heat and I'm going to put my thermometer in right away. And we need to get this up to 112 degrees Celsius. And this is going to create the texture that we're looking for. We do want it to be slightly stretchy type of caramel. And I'm just making sure that everything is dissolved, all of that caramelized sugar is getting dissolved. So I'm just going into the corners and really scraping it down. So now all that sugar's dissolved, I'm just putting the temperature back up. There we go. So we'll switch that off and our heat off. We can take this off the heat. Now I've just kind of got myself some water and I put some ice cubes in there because I do want to cool down our caramel to about 50 degrees Celsius before we add our vegan butter, the chocolate and the salt. You could also just leave this on your bench until it cools down to 50 degrees, especially if you're creating a large batch of this. You can just set it aside and keep an eye on it. Okay, so first I'm gonna add my chocolate and my salt and give this a good blend. Now we're gonna start adding our vegan margarine, and this is room temperature. So I'm gonna put a little bit in at a time and start blending it. Okay, once that's all blended up, we can pop this into a bowl. This same bowl, pour all of that inside. You'll probably notice that this caramel is quite dark when you first make it. We're gonna set this on our bench for at least 2 hours to completely cool down to room temperature. So anywhere from like 2, 4, 6, 8 hours, that's fine. And what you're going to notice is it's going to fully set up, almost like a jelly. And then we're going to reblend it in our food processor later. And I'll show you the texture. It's not quite a whipped ganache. You end up with this beautiful, thick and luscious caramello kind of ganache, kind of like a dolce de leche. So I'm just going to cover to contact with cling wrap. And we'll set that aside on our bench for a minimum of 2 hours, and I'll see you back here soon. So it's been several hours and our caramel has set now. You'll see that it's kind of set into this sort of like gel-like consistency. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And we're going to blend it until it is smooth in our food processor. I'm just using a small food processor, so I'm going to do about half at a time. See how the color has changed? All right, let's give it one more blend. And when it comes out at this stage, it might have a bit of a gummy sort of texture and still be not firm enough for piping, but that is completely normal. We need to rest this in the fridge overnight for it to develop the full texture that we're looking for. So we're just gonna pop our lid on and put that into the refrigerator overnight. And tomorrow we have the perfect texture for our caramel, which you can use to pipe onto your desserts and use it for so many different applications. We have our maple caramel that we made yesterday, which is amazingly thick.